Hello, listening squirrels. Got my movie sweater on. Little popcorns. All kinds of movie stuff on here. Tickets. Tickets down here and a box of popcorn. Used to be one of my favorite sweaters to wear to school. I've been into spooky movies lately, of course. I'm into those year-round. Anyway, how about we get into chapter 18 called What Next? Sylvia laid her head down on her pillow, believing that this night message came up would be the longest, saddest she had ever known. But before she had time to sigh for sleep, it wrapped her in its comfortable arms and held her till day broke. Sunshine streamed across the room and early birds piped on the budding boughs that swayed before the window. But no morning smile saluted her, no morning flower awaited her, and nothing but a little note lay on the unpressed pillow at her side. Sylvia, I have gone away to Faith because this proud, resentful spirit of mine must be subdued before I meet you. I leave that behind me which will speak to you more kindly, calmly than I can now, and show you that my effort has been equal to my failure. There is nothing for me to do but submit, manfully if I must, meekly if I can, and this short exile will prepare me for the longer one to come. Take counsel with those nearer and dearer to you than myself, and secure the happiness which I have so ignorantly delayed, but cannot wilfully destroy. God be with you, and through all that is and is to come, remember that you remain beloved forever in the heart of Geoffrey Moore. Sylvia had known many sad uprisings, but never a sadder one than this. And the hours that followed aged her more than any year had done. All day she wandered aimlessly to and fro, for the inward conflict would not let her rest. The house seemed home no longer when its presiding genius was gone, and everywhere some token of his former presence touched her with its mute reproach. She asked no counsel of her family, for well she knew the outburst of condemnation and incredulity, I didn't say that right, and grief that would assail her there. They could not help her yet. They would only augment perplexities, weaken convictions, and distract her mind. When she was sure of herself, she would tell them, endure their indignation and regret, and steadily execute the new purpose, whatever it should be. To many it might seem an easy task to break the bond that burdened and assume the tie that blessed, but Sylvia had grown wise in self-knowledge, timorous through self-delusion. Therefore, the greater the freedom given her, the more she hesitated to avail herself of it. The nobler each friend grew as she turned from one to the other. The more impossible seemed the decision, for generous spirit and loving heart contended for the mastery, yet neither won. She knew that Moore had put her from him, never to be recalled till some miracle was wrought that should make her truly his. This renunciation showed her how much he had become to her, how entirely she had learned to lean upon him, and how great a boon such perfect love was in itself. Even the prospect of a life with Warwick brought forebodings with its hope. Reason made her listen to many doubts which hitherto passion had suppressed. Would she never tire of his unrest? Could she feel so large a heart and give it power as well as warmth? Might not the two wheels clash, the ardent natures inflame one another, the stronger intellect exhaust the weaker, and disappointment come again? And as she asked these questions, conscience, the monitor whom no bribe, contempt, no threat, silence invariably answered, yes. But chief among the cares that beset her was the one that grew more burdensome with thought. By her own will she had put her liberty into another's keeping. Law confirmed the act, gospel sanctioned the vow, and it could only be redeemed by paying the costly price demanded of those who own that they have drawn a blank in the lottery of marriage. Public opinion is a grim ghost that daunts the bravest, and Sylvia knew that trials lay before her from which she would shrink and suffer as only a woman sensitive and proud as she could shrink and suffer. Once apply this remedy, and any tongue would have the power to wound, any eye to insult with pity or contempt, any stranger to criticize or condemn, and she would have no means of redress, no place of refuge, even in that stronghold, Adam's heart. All that dreary day she wrestled with these stubborn facts, but could neither mold nor modify them as she would, and evening found her spent but not decided. Too excited for sleep, yet too weary for exertion, she turned bedward, hoping that the darkness and the silence of night would bring good counsel, if not rest. Till now she had shunned the library as one shuns the spot where one has suffered most. But as she passed the open door, the gloom that reigned within seemed typical of that which had fallen on its absent master, and following the impulse of the moment, Sylvia went in to light it with the little glimmer of her lamp. Nothing had been touched, for no hand but her own preserved the order of this room, and all household duties had been neglected on that day. The old chair stood where she had left it, and over its arm was thrown the velvet coat, half dressing gown, half blouse, that more like to wear at this household trysting place. Sylvia bent to fold it smoothly as it hung, and feeling that she must solace herself with some touch of tenderness, laid her cheek against the soft garment, whispering good night. Something glittered on the cushion of the chair, and looking nearer she found a steel-clasped book, upon the cover of which lay a dead heliotrope, a little key. It was Moore's diary, and now she understood that passage of the note which had been obscure before. "I leave that behind me which will speak to you more kindly, calmly, than I can now, and show you that my effort has been equal to my failure." She had often begged to read it, threatened to pick the lock, and felt the strongest curiosity to learn what was contained in the long entries that he daily made. Her request had always been answered with the promise of entire possession of the book when the year was out. Now he gave it, though the year was not gone, and many leaves were yet unfilled. He thought she would come to this room first, would see her morning flower laid ready for her, and sitting in what they called their refuge, would draw some comfort for herself, some palliation for this innocent offense, from the record so abruptly ended. She took it, went away to her own room, unlocked the short romance of his wedded life, and found her husband's heart laid bare before her. It was a strange and solemn thing to look so deeply into the private experience of a fellow being, to trace the birth and progress of purposes and passions, the motives of action, the secret aspirations, the besetting sins that made up the inner life he had been leading beside her. Moore wrote with an eloquent sincerity because he had put himself into his book, as if feeling the need of some confidant. He had chosen the only one that pardons egotism. Here, too, Sylvia saw her chameleon self etched with loving care, endowed with all gifts and graces, studied with unflagging zeal, and made the idol of a life. Often a tuneful spirit seemed to assert itself, and passing from smooth prose to smoother poetry, sonnet, Song or psalm flowed down the page in cadences stately, sweet, or solemn, filling the reader with delight at the discovery of a gift so genuine yet so shyly folded up within itself, unconscious that its modesty was the surest token of its worth. More than once Sylvia laid her face into the book and added her involuntary comment on some poem or passage, made pathetic by the present, and more than once paused to wonder with exceeding wonder why she could not give such genius and affection its reward. Had she needed any confirmation of the fact so hard to teach herself? This opening of his innermost would have given it, for while she bitterly grieved over the death blow she had dealt his happy hope, it no longer seemed a possibility to change her stubborn heart or lessen by a fraction the debt which she sadly felt could only be repaid in friendship's silver, not love's gold. All night she lay there like some pictured Magdalene, pure but as penitent as Correggio's, I'm sure I screwed that up, Mary, with the book, the lamp, and the melancholy eyes, the golden hair that painters love. All night she read, gathering courage, not consolation, from those pages, foreseeing what she was, not showed her what she might become. And when she turned the little key upon that story without an end, Sylvia the girl was dead, but Sylvia the woman had begun to live. Lying in the rosy hush of dawn, there came to her a sudden memory. If ever you need help that Geoffrey cannot give, remember Cousin Faith. But didn't he go to Faith's? This was the hour Faith foresaw. More had gone to her with his trouble. Why not follow and let this woman, wise, discreet, and gentle, show her what should come next? The newly risen sun saw Sylvia away upon her journey to Faith's home among the hills. She lived alone, a cheerful, busy, solitary soul, demanding little of others, yet giving freely to whomsoever asked an alms of her. Sylvia found the gray cottage nestled in a hollow of the mountainside, a pleasant hermitage, secure and still. Mistress and maid composed the household, but none of the gloom of isolation darkened the sunshine that pervaded it. Peace seemed to sit upon its threshold, content to brood beneath its eaves, and the atmosphere of home to make it beautiful. When some momentous purpose or event absorbs us, we break through fears and formalities, act out ourselves forgetful of reserve, and use the plainest phrases to express emotions, which need no ornament and little aid from language. Sylvia illustrated this fact then, for without hesitation or embarrassment she entered Miss Dane's door, called no servant to announce her, but went, as if by instinct, straight to the room where Faith sat alone, and with the simplest greeting asked, "Is Geoffrey here?" "He was an hour ago, and will be an hour hence. I sent him out to rest, for he cannot sleep. I am glad you came to him. He has not learned to do without you yet." With no bustle of surprise or sympathy, Faith put away her work, took off the hat and cloak, drew her guest beside her on the couch before the one deep window looking down the valley, and gently chafing the chilly hands in warm ones, said nothing more till Sylvia spoke. "He has told you all the wrong I have done him?" "Yes, and found little comfort here. Do you need consolation also?" "Can you ask?" "But I need something more, and no one can give it to me as so well as you. I want to be set right, to hear things called by their true names." to be taken out of myself and made to see why I'm always doing wrong while trying to do well. Your father, sister, or brother are fitter for that task than I. Have you tried them? No, and I will not. They love me, but they could not help me, for they would beg me to conceal if I cannot forget, to endure if I cannot conquer, and abide by my mistake at all cost. That's not the help I want. I desire to know the one just thing to be done, and to be made brave enough to do it. Though friends lament, gossips clamor, and the heavens fall, I am in earnest now. Rate me sharply, drag out my weaknesses, shame my follies, show no mercy to my selfish hopes. And when I can no longer hide from myself, put me in the way I should go, and I will follow it, though my feet bleed at every step. She was in earnest now, terribly so, but still Faith drew back, though her compassionate face belied her hesitating words. Go to Adam. Who wiser or more just than he? I cannot. He, as well as Geoffrey, loves me too well to decide for me. You stand between them, wise as the one, gentle as the other, and you do not care for me enough to let affection hoodwink reason. Faith, you bade me to come. Do not cast me off, for if you shut your heart against me, I know not where to go. Despairing she spoke, disconsolate she looked, and Faith's reluctance vanished. The maternal aspect returned, her voice resumed its warmth, her eye its benignity, and Sylvia was reassured before a word was spoken. I do not cast you off, nor shut my heart against you. I only hesitated to assume such responsibility, and shrunk from the task because of compassion, not coldness. Sit here and tell me all your trouble, Sylvia. That is so kind. It seems quite natural to turn to you as if I had a claim upon you. Let me have, and if you can, love me a little, because I have no mother and need one very much. My child, you shall not need one any more. Oh, I'm gonna hate when I read my notes gets tickly. Vibrations. I feel that, and am comforted already. Faith, if you were me, and stood where I stand, beloved by two men, either of whom any woman might be proud to call husband, putting self away, to which should you cleave? To neither. Sylvia paled and trembled, as if the oracle she had invoked was an unanswerable voice pronouncing the inevitable. She watched Faith's countenance a moment, groping for her meaning, failed to find it, and whispered below her breath, Can I know why? Because your husband is, your lover should be your friend and nothing more. You have been hardly taught the lesson many have to learn, that friendship cannot fill love's place, yet should be kept inviolate and served as an oster or mistress who can make life very beautiful to such as feel her worth and deserve her delights. Adam taught me this, for though Geoffrey took you from him, he still held fast his friend, letting no disappointment sour, no envy alienate, no resentment destroy the perfect friendship years of mutual fidelity have built up between them. Yes, cried Sylvia, how I have honored Adam for that steadfastness, and how I have despised myself, because I could not be as wise and faithful in the earlier, safer sentiment I felt for Geoffrey. Be wise and faithful now. Cease to be the wife, but remain the friend. Freely give all you can with honesty, not one jot more. Never did man possess a truer friend than I will be to him, if he will let me. But faith, if I may be that to Geoffrey, may I not be something nearer and dearer to Adam? Would not you dare to hope it, were you me? No, Sylvia, never. Why not? If you were blind, a cripple, or cursed with some incurable infirmity of body, would not you hesitate to bind yourself in your affliction to another? You know I should not only hesitate, but utterly refuse. I do know it. Therefore I venture to show you why, according to my belief, you should not marry Adam. I cannot tell you as I ought, but I only try to show you where to seek the explanation of my seeming harsh advice. There are diseases more subtle and dangerous than any that vex our flesh. Diseases that should be as carefully cured, if curable, as inexorably prevented from spreading as any malady we dread. A paralyzed will, a morbid mind, a mad temper, a tainted heart, a blind soul, are afflictions to be as much regarded as bodily infirmities. Nay, more, inasmuch as souls are of greater value than perishable flesh. Where this is religiously taught, believed, and practiced, marriage becomes, in truth, a sacrament blessed of God. Children thank parents for the gift of life. Parents see in children living satisfactions and rewards, not reproaches or retributions, doubly heavy to be borne for the knowledge that where two sin, many must inevitably suffer. You try to tell me gently, Faith, but I see that you consider me one of the innocent unfortunates who have no right to marry till they be healed, perhaps never. I have dimly felt this during the past year. Now I know it, and thank God that I have no child to reproach me hereafter for bequeathing it the mental ills I have not yet outlived. Dear Sylvia, you are an exceptional case in all respects, because an extreme one. The ancient theology of two contending spirits in one body is strangely exemplified in you. For each rules by turns, and each helps or hinders as moods, name of the book, and circumstances lead. Even in the great event of a woman's life, you are thwarted by conflicting powers, impulse and ignorance, passion and pride, hope and despair. Now you stand at the parting of the ways, looking wistfully along the pleasant one, while Adam seems to beckon, while I point down the rugged one where I have walked. And though my heart aches as I do it, counsel you as I would a daughter of my own. I thank you, I will follow you, but my life looks very barren. If I must relinquish my desire, not as barren as if you possessed your desire and found it in another misery and mistake. Could you have loved Geoffrey? It might have been safe and well with you. Loving Adam is neither. Let me show you why. He's an exception like yourself. Perhaps that explains your attraction for each other. In him the head rules, in Geoffrey the heart. The one criticizes, the other loves mankind. Geoffrey is proud and private in all that lies nearest him, clings to persons, and is faithful as a woman. Adam has only the pride of an intellect which tests all things and abides by its own insight. He clings to principles. Persons are but animated facts or ideas. He seizes, searches, uses them, and when they have no more for him, drops them like the husk whose kernel he has secured, passing on to find and study other examples without regret, but with unabated zeal. For life to him is perpetual progress, and he obeys the law of his nature as steadily as the sun or sea. Is this not so? All true. What more, Faith? Few women, if wise, would dare to marry this man, noble and love-worthy as he is, till time has tamed and experience developed him. Even then the risk is great, for he demands and unconsciously absorbs into himself the personality of others, making large returns, but of a kind which only those as strong, sagacious, and steadfast as himself can receive and adapt to their individual uses, without being overcome and possessed, that none of us should be except by the Spirit stronger than man, purer than woman. You feel, though you do not understand this power, you know that his presence excites, yet wearies you, that while you love, you fear him, and even when you long to be all in all to him, you doubt your ability to make his happiness. Am I not right? I must say yes. Then it is scarcely necessary for me to tell you that I think this unequal marriage would be but a brief one for you, bright at its beginning, dark at its end. With him, you would exhaust yourself in passionate endeavors to follow where he led. He would not know this, you would not confess it, but too late you might both learn that you were too young, too ardent, too frail, in all but the might of love, to be his wife. It is like a wood bird mating with an eagle, straining its little wings to scale the sky with him, blinding itself with gazing at the sun, striving to feel and warm the wild eyrie which becomes its home, or eyrie. And perishing in the stern solitude the other loves, yet too fond and faithful to regret the safer nest among the grass, the gentler mate it might have had, the summer life and winter flitting to the south for which it was designed. Faith, you frighten me. You seem to see and show me all the dim forebodings I have hidden away within myself, because I could not understand or dared not face them. How have you learned so much? How can you read me so well? And who told you these things of us all? I had an unhappy childhood and a discordant home. Early cares and losses made me old in youth and taught me to observe how others bore their burdens. Since then, solitude has led me to study and reflect upon the question, toward which my thoughts inevitably turned. Concerning yourself and your past, Geoffrey told me much, but Adam more. Have you seen him? Has he been here? When, Faith, when? Light and color flashed back into Sylvia's face, and the glad eagerness of her voice was a pleasant sound to hear after the despairing accents gone before. Faith sighed, but answered fully, carefully, while the compassion of her look deepened as she spoke. Phew! Almost 30 minutes. We see how much more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Oh, Lordy. This goes on and on. It'll be short tomorrow, but I'm done. Let's see. I gotta see where I left off. Okay. I think I'm at the right place. Y'all have a happy Saturday night before Halloween. Maybe you're doing some Halloweeny stuff with your kids or grands. Me, I'm just by myself. Gonna eat some shrimp. Some shrimp with the trimmings and get on some whips. Try not to fall asleep. And watch a booger movie or 2 or 5. Love y'all. Hope to see you tomorrow at 3 bells. Sometime between 3 and 4, we're going to give these 2 lovely boy hooks away. One is a G, one is an H. One person will win one, and the other. And I'll throw in some mystery yarn because I have no idea yet which I will be plucking from my shelves. Love y'all. Be sweet, don't be ugly. Toodaloo.